Today I want to talk about 5 books that helped me understand the secrets of human beings. See, Kunal Shah put up a tweet recently, and in that tweet he spoke about how the best in the world get human beings. They understand how humans behave, they understand how humans walk around, what motivates them, how they spend money, every single thing about human beings. And it's a lifelong study. You see, nobody's truly nailed how humans behave, and I want to tell you how I started on that journey of trying to understand how humans behave, and I'm going to tell you the 5 books that helped me do it. Obviously, the list of books that will help you understand humans is infinite, but I want to tell you my own recommendation list. Ready? Here goes. So the first book I want to talk about is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. You see, a lot of people hate this book, and they hate this book because they feel like it degrades humans in some way, right? It talks about interactions between people as interaction between friends or enemies or accomplices rather than, friendships. But the truth is, when you move up in the business world or in the YouTuber world or in the acting world, right, or any of the worlds which require power, right? I think politics is one of the most prime examples of this. You'll see that you enter sort of patterns because in all these worlds of power, you're interacting with other human beings and you're sort of competing for power. Sometimes you're competing, sometimes you're collaborating, and sometimes you're at war. So how do you navigate your way past these situations? That is perfectly explained by the 48 Laws of Power. I think one of the key principles of the 48 Laws of Power is that power is about reputation. The minute you lose reputation among these differing factions that make up your environment, then you lose. I love the book. I think I read the book first when I was in my teens, and I've reread it many times hence. It sort of feels like a Bible to me because I go back to it when I'm confused or I'm thinking about what's going on, and the books always help me out. The next book, and I used to recommend this book, I think, for the last half a decade, is You Are Not So Smart by David McCraney. You see, I was talking to this 18 or 19-year-old recently, right? And the problem with 18, 19-year-olds, and I had this problem when I was young, is that they simultaneously believe that they know goddamn everything, and at the same time, they believe they know nothing. Like with respect to their career, they're like, I have no idea what to do or what's going on. But with certain other things, they're like, yeah, I'm damn sure I'm the best at this, nobody can beat me at this. I think this book, You Are Not So Smart, first was like a tight slap to my face when I was 18. And the book said, listen, actually, you don't know what you're talking about, right? You are not so smart. And it showed me many instances of how people thought they were smart, but scientifically, they didn't know what they were doing, right? We are driven by, let's just say we are like puppets, and our hormones and neurotransmitters kind of control us, right? And You Are Not So Smart is all these situations and instances that you are controlled by something else, but you never knew. Then, of course, there's a classic Thinking Fast and Slow by Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman. For most beginner readers, it's better to start with You Are Not So Smart and then move on to Thinking Fast and Slow if you liked You Are Not So Smart. The reason is because You Are Not So Smart is a small book, whereas Thinking Fast and Slow is a very large book. It's got a lot of content, and a lot of people abandon the book midway or after a few pages because they're just like, this is infinite. If it's too heavy a book, drop it. But otherwise, I really liked it. It's very research backed, and psychology in general has something called a replication crisis, which means that many of the studies done in the 1990s do not replicate today. If you try to do the same study today with the same factors, it'll give you different results, right? But Daniel Kahneman's own research, they replicated, which means that whatever studies he did many years ago will still work today. The next book is a book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. You see, in AD, I think 170 to 180, Marcus Aurelius wrote a series of books to himself. So he said, I'm going to be stoic, right? I don't think he really came up with the word by himself, but he said, if I don't react to these circumstances around me, right? To this conflict. Some of you might have a conflict with your friend and you go to sleep thinking about it again and again and again and again, right? I used to do that when I was young. But Marcus Aurelius says, I have no control over it. If I do, I'm just going to call up my friend and go talk to him. There were no phones back in the day, but you get what I'm saying. But if I have no control over it, then I'm just going to let it be. I'm going to be stoic about it. The word stoic today has come to symbolize a person that doesn't give a shit, but in reality, they feel the symptoms, right? They feel the anger and the depression, but they don't let it affect them. In fact, Stoicism was considered the groundwork for something that we call cognitive behavioral therapy today, right? Which is basically, it goes back all the way to the quote, right? Learn to battle what you can battle and learn to ignore what you can't battle, right? So Marcus Aurelius lays the groundwork for it. I'm a Stoic because life is random, and being Stoic is one of the best ways to counteract that randomness. And I really suggest meditation. The last and final book that I want to talk about is a very large book. It's 680 pages long. The book is called Behave by Robert Sapolsky, and the book is about human beings and what drives us as a machine. If you look at a car is driven by several inputs. It's driven by the amount of fuel in the tank. It's driven by, the steering wheel and the angle of the steering wheel. It's driven by how hard the brakes are pressed or how hard the accelerator is pressed. But you can see the behavior of that car on the road, right? If a car's turning right, you don't think somebody looking out on the road is not going to say, oh, he's pressing the brake at 30% and then pressing the accelerator at 50% and then turning the steering wheel to the left. He's not. Nobody's going to think in those terms, right? Similarly with human beings, there are a lot of things we do. Not just you and me, but like everyone in the world. And 90% of what's controlling us, like I've said before, are these invisible strings. So the book Behave tries to get down to those strings and tries to find out what brings out the best in human beings and what brings out the worst in us. Different people have different viewpoints of things, and the best way to have the perfect viewpoint of human beings is to understand all of these different perspectives, right? To gain as many perspectives as possible, right? I like to call this, or I've adapted this into something I call the theory of lenses. If you understand mathematics, you have one set of lenses. Let's just say you have a red lens, red glasses, right? Then suppose you understand evolutionary psychology. Then you have another set of glasses, green glasses, right? And you can wear that whenever you want. So sometimes you can wear the red glasses, sometimes you can wear the green glasses, and you see totally different perspectives when you wear each of those individually. But sometimes you can combine glasses, and now it's red plus green, right? Which is brown. So you see a completely new perspective because you have these two underlying perspectives. The book also talks about human behavior in the context of things like genetics, right? What drives us might be what drove ancestors many years ago. It could be adversity. What drives you might be something you've gone through when you were young, or something your parents have gone through when you're young. Or it could be identification. You want to identify with a group. Maybe you want to identify with Avalonians, and maybe that drives your behavior. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I know it's a long one, but I want to talk about the 5 books that drive or will teach you about human behavior, and there you have it. Catch you later. Make sure you subscribe.